Hey, welcome in for 2 Daves and a Mic spinoff Shelby High Golden Lion football podcast. I'm David Allen, D.A., along with Jacari Shell. I call him Juice. And, boy, plenty of juice on the field tonight for the Golden Lions in first round of the state 3A playoffs. Jacari against McMichael. Final score in this one, Shelby 70, McMichael 14.
Got off to a really slow start, Shelby. Just had a good kickoff return, get it to the 20-yard line, and turnover on downs, and you was like, oh man. But again, Shelby gets the ball back and able to punch it in, but then the defense gives up a touchdown, and next thing you know, Shelby's down 8-7, and you looking like, wow, like there's no way Shelby can't wake up and don't realize it's a playoff game that next week isn't guaranteed. But then luckily Shelby woke up and ran the tables on them, and luckily won 70-14.
Yeah, blowout city after the early 8-7 deficit, as you are exactly right. Question to you though, and I didn't realize this. I was listening to Jeff and Brent with the post game, and they said that Emmanuel Collins was hurt on the opening kickoff and didn't play the rest of the game. I knew I didn't see him out there, but I didn't realize he got hurt on the opening kickoff. Do you know what the status of that was, or
he didn't dress out at all. He was.
Oh, he didn't. Okay, so it wasn't on the opening kickoff then.
Yeah, he wasn't. He was in his jersey from the start to finish.
Okay.
I think something about his hip, maybe, and they just tried to play it cautious. They kind of figured they was going to beat this team by a lot, and I think they just really just care about having him for next week against East Rutherford. Played it safe, and I think he should be good to go next week.
Well, yeah, let's hope so, because obviously he's been a big part of the offense all year. Good news was, though, is that Kendrick Raper basically took his spot on offense tonight. He had 5 catches for 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a 75-yard kickoff return, had a punt return called back, which the penalties were better tonight. No unsportsmanlikes against Shelby. We did have a couple of just, head scratchers, false starts, when, just stuff like that. But for the most part, the penalties were in check tonight. And while it didn't matter against McMichael, it is going to matter next week against East Rutherford and potentially later in the playoffs if we make a run.
And that's a good sign. I mean, last week they had 14 penalties against Burns for over 130 yards. And I was talking to the guys on the pregame shows, like, you cut those in half to like in between 6 to 8 penalties, like, especially for this game. I think that's a huge improvement. But then, like you said, I think the penalties that hurt them the most were the unsportsmanlike conducts, where they're giving up 15 plus yards and just gift wrapping teams a easy touchdown, and just depending on how the drive went. But I know I didn't even realize that, but I mean, that's a good job for Shelby not to being able to keep his cool, because I know when they played Bessemer City, they was up by a lot. They was chirping around and getting unsportsmanlike conducts, but that's really good on them to realize what's at stake now, and no, next week isn't guaranteed. So that's really good by them.
No question about that. Going back to that game last week against Burns, survived, essentially blocked field goal to end it. I said last week in my post-game wrap-up on the podcast that the kick wasn't as much blocked as it was kicked into the back of the offensive line. But I will have to say, in watching Randy Evans's video highlight of that play, it was a complete jailbreak. So he did not get the ball up very high, but Shelby had like 6 guys back there to block it. So I don't know what Burns was doing on that play, but they didn't give that kid a chance to make that field goal last week. But Shelby survived. Defensively, Shelby couldn't stop the run last week against Burns. And offensively, Land Farmer, I don't know if they were calling the quarterback keeper or if they were calling the RPO, and he was reading to keep. Yeah. But for the most part, he was the leading rusher last week. But really, only until late in the game, he had a couple of longer runs. For the most part, he was getting like 2 yards a carry. Well, tonight, let's just say, and I'm not trying to compare McMichael to Burns. Let's be fair to Burns. Burns is legit. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're an 8 seed in the 4A. They got a bye tonight. The 2 running backs tonight, Jonas Woods and Tyler Tate, combined for 7 carries 209 yards and 5 touchdowns. Jonas Woods had 5 carries for 153 and 3, and Tyler Tate had 2 carries for 56 yards and 2 touchdowns in the second half. And honestly, he would have had 4 or 5 if he'd have gotten 4 or 5 carries, because they could. I mean, he had a really good return on the opening kickoff too. So,
and that's good. Getting a young guy involved, and honestly, that gives him such confidence carrying over the next week. And you giving Will Banks trust that, hey, I can go out here and make a play. And even in garbage time, I mean, he was holding on to the ball, securing it, and making cuts, and being able to find the gaps and following behind his blocker. So, I mean, that's really good by him.
Well, he takes after his brother. Tristan was an outstanding running back. He was smaller. Tyler is smaller than Tristan. I did notice tonight he is completely going with the Ashton Genty, stand straight up, looking like Michael Myers in the backfield. But, hey, it worked for him. Again, he had 2 carries in the ball game, had 2 touchdowns. So shout out to Tyler. He's a senior. He deserved it. He had 3 touchdowns, I think, against Highland earlier in the season. And other than that, I hadn't seen him on the field. So
I didn't realize he was a senior. I thought he was younger than that.
Yeah, no, I think he's. Yeah,
I didn't realize he was a senior.
No, it's okay. But needless to say, more explosive tonight in the running game, certainly than last week against Burns. But again, going back to last week's game against Burns, Max Davis was banged up, but we didn't have much luck with him. The Wells kid that was doing most of the Wildcat stuff for them, didn't have much luck with him. East Rutherford's got, as you know, because you've been to see them play, you saw them against High Brighton earlier in the year. They got a legit running back, and Shelby's going to have their hands full with him next week.
Yeah, giving up. Shelby last week gave up 268 rushing yards to Burns. Just one of those nights, one of those days. I mean, I think we kind of hit on it earlier in the year in the show. We was talking about Burns, like there was a team that's going to keep the ball on the ground, really not that big of a downfield throwing team. And for East Rutherford, the game I went to, the guy had 5 touchdowns, over 300 rushing yards against High Brighton, and he was the main focal point of that offense. And I think Shelby going to have his hands full, and Shelby just has to – I know it's easier said than done, but just try to – whatever you do, just don't miss a tackle, because I think once he gets to the second level, he has the ability to make guys miss, and he can get going quick, fast, and in a hurry. So I think the game I went to, I think he had a 97-yarder, so – Shelby's definitely going to have his hands full with East Rutherford. They also have a 6'6" tight end, East Rutherford dude, that he also play on the edge a little bit, but I don't think they really utilized him the game I went in the tight end, but he was really good on the edge. So East Rutherford's a really good matchup, and I'm excited to see that.
All right, is it the Mitchell kid? Is that who it is?
It's 21.
For them?
Whoever 21 is.
21.
I think his name is Pink something.
Lipford? Lipford's the quarterback, it looks like.
Yeah, East Rutherford.
No. I'm sorry. No. I was looking at the wrong team.
His name
It's Pinkerton.
Yeah,
Pinkerton, number 21. Yeah, against High Brighton, he had 26 carries for 376 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair to the Shelby people, High Brighton has not been High Brighton since we played them in 2017, and they knocked us out for the 5 in a row run that we were on.
Yeah.
But
that game wasn't. I want to say this. That game, I think East Rutherford won by 2 scores, but it was a hard fought game because close to the end of the game, High Brighton had a 1-score game with under like 6 minutes left or something like that. But it was a 1-score game in the fourth quarter, and East Rutherford had it.
43-34 East Rutherford.
Yeah.
So now, when you look at their schedule, Juice, let's not get carried away. They are 9-1, and I'm not taking anything away from them, but let's break down their schedule just for a second. They lost the season opener to Asheville. If I'm not mistaken, Crest ran Asheville off the field when they played them later. They beat Blacksburg 41-6. They beat CPLA, who I have no idea who that is. 84
equivalent to Highland Tech.
Highland Tech, 84-8. They beat High Brighton 43-34. So I say that's a good win. Mm-hmm. West Caldwell 30-0. Never been any good. Drawn 57-0, never been any good. Chase 57-7. Chase had a couple of years where they made some runs, not this year. Patton, never been any good, 35-0. East Burke, never been any good, 53-24. And RS Central, 38-14. So they ran Rutherford County in those two games big time. But other than that, I mean, they played nobody. That's what I'm going to say. And so, you know, and you could argue that Shelby don't play a whole lot of people, but we did play Kings Mountain, and Kings Mountain was pretty good when we played them. We played Crest, and we almost beat Crest and late. Crest won that game late. We lost to Lincoln, probably should have won that game, but penalties killed us. And then we beat Burns. I mean, you know, so you could say we played 4 quality opponents and we lost to 3 of them, really. But, you know, Asheville tonight, that team that beat High Brighton early, they are 42-7 over Western Guilford in the playoffs tonight. But I was going to look at their score because I wanted to see what their score was against Crest because they played Crest early, and I'm pretty sure Crest just beat the brakes off of them. 55-12, Crest beat Asheville early. So the one loss.
And Asheville was 6-5 on the year.
Yeah, so one loss that they had was to a 6-5 Asheville team that lost 55-12 to Crest. I'm just saying Shelby got to put 11 men on Pinkerton, it sounds like, and then hope that, you know, they got nobody else that can beat us.
I'm not going to lie. I mean, I know I keep harping on it. The High Brighton game, which I was in attendance for, the defense did a really good job in the first half. I think they forced High Brighton 3-4 turnovers in the first half. And I'm not going to say East Rutherford. I don't know. Maybe that game it was particularly bad, but I don't think they had that good of a downfield passing attack. But they do have guys on perimeter that can fly. And I think if you can give them those guys the ball in open space, I think they can make guys miss in a phone booth. But I'm not going to sit here and act like East Rutherford is Ohio State or something. Like I think they can be beatable just like Shelby can. But I think I'm not trying to be biased at all. I think I would give the Shelby edge a little bit. I do. But I just think it'll be a really good game.
Well, defensively, Noah Gartner got after it tonight. I think he had, 5 sacks in the first quarter. They ended up taking him out of the game. I guess so he didn't break a state record with sacks tonight or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, McMichael, bless them. They drove 2 hours and 40 minutes, Juice.
On the activity bus, I heard.
2-8 on the season. They played up in that conference with Reidsville. They were 0-6 in the conference. Lost to Reidsville last week, like 68-18 or something like that. I mean, they played some good teams, and I guess that's how they made the playoffs, just because their conference is pretty good. Kind of the opposite of Shelby's situation. And, you know, they got to come on. And I told the boys the other night on the 2 days on a mic, I said, hey, maybe they'll stop at Gastonia on the way home and get some Krispy Kremes. Because otherwise, activity bus for 140 miles, dude, that's a long road home, baby.
I heard someone say it was on an activity bus, and I said that got to be the worst feeling in the world. Cold is on the what. They should have started warming it up directly at halftime so it could just be able to get warm by the time they got on the bus and left.
Well, and, you know, we're spoiled at Shelby. We've chartered for away games, that did not involve a Western Conference, a Western finals or a state championship. And I'm going to tell you, though, and the county game crowd last week for Burns on Halloween was absolutely atrocious. There were empty sections on the Burns side and the Shelby side, and that's unheard of in a county game. I'm going to tell you what, I'm just going to say it. The Shelby faithful that used to come every Friday night, no matter what, has gone. They are not there anymore, and the crowds are terrible. There was nobody there tonight for McMichael. There were more East Rutherford coaches and players over there scouting Shelby from East Rutherford than there were McMichael fans tonight. I mean, Shelby was nice and opened the concession stand over there, but they really didn't need to. it was, I mean, it was, it's bad, but it was bad last week against, and we lost money tonight, 100%. We got to pay for McMichael's travel. We got to give the state their cut, and then we split with them. There's no way after we paid officials and after we paid security tonight, there's no way that Shelby High School made money tonight. That is a losing effort tonight in the first round of the state playoffs at the box office. And they're not going to play probably another home game unless there's an upset, Jacari. They're a 10 seed. They would have to have, I mean, they'd have to have a couple of big upsets in the brackets for them to potentially have another game at home.
Yeah, and I was trying to pull up the bracket because I really don't really know the bracket like that. I don't think I know as they play East Rutherford next, but yeah, that is kind of disappointing. Like, it was the Shelby Faithful. Like, I remember probably like 4 years ago, man. It was big, and maybe it's because the conference is just how the conference is slated to where they got to play Cherville, Highland Tech, and East Gaston, and these bad teams, and people don't want to waste like $12 or so on a ticket to watch these teams blow someone out at halftime. But I don't know. I mean, it kind of sucks that it kind of dialed down a little bit over the past years. But I didn't realize that Shelby. I mean, I don't understand the financial things that you know 10 times more than me. You was principal for I don't know how long at Shelby, and I didn't know like I don't know how the money goes, and I didn't know McMichael you had to pay McMichael for travel. I didn't realize.
Yeah,
that.
so there is a mileage cutoff. So like if you have to travel, and I'm going to say it's 90 miles, Jacari, I could be wrong, but if you have to travel more than 90 miles to a game, that comes out of the gate. So now they took an activity bus, and I think that's the mileage rate that you have to reimburse. You don't have to reimburse, certainly. If they had chartered, we would not have had to pay for their charter because that'd been a whole lot more expensive. But we do have to give them a certain mileage rate on the 140 miles that they drove down here. And I'm telling you, based on the number of people in the stands tonight on both sides, Shelby High School lost money on that game tonight. Again, because you got to pay security, you got to pay the officials, you got to pay for their travel, and then you got to give the High School Athletic Association their cut off the top before you do any of that. So anyway, it's a mess. I tweeted at the High School Athletic Association during the game. I took a picture of the empty stands on the visitor side and said, yeah, not only did, they have to drive 2 hours and 40 minutes to get their butt handed to them, but we got nobody here and a running clock, and we're losing money. So it's a mess.
That sucks.
It really does. It really, really does. They should have cut the buys out and did 16 teams on the West, 16 teams on the East, cut a whole round out. We could have finished this thing up a week earlier in December, and instead of playing right up until Christmas, you get a week off and you play till the middle of December instead of the end of December. So anyway, I'll get off
about that. I was talking about that with the pregame guys. We was having conversations about the buys, and I was like, I don't remember it ever being a buy like this. And then again, teams that don't really deserve to be in, and no disrespect to those kids, but I don't think a 2-win team should be in, no matter the circumstances. No disrespect. I don't think this team should have been in. For you to get beat 70-14 in a playoff game, I don't think that should have ever been in the case, and it's just ridiculous. And I don't know why it's politics and goes way beyond my understanding. It probably has been for years and years. I just don't really understand why they do things, and the RPI, the controversy, and I don't know why these adults are just ruining just high school sports in general. I don't know. I don't understand.
I hear you. Hey, speaking of 2-win teams, Ben L. Smith over at Kings Mountain tonight had the Mounties struggling and worrying late. It was 21-14 with about 8 minutes to go in the game. Kings Mountain did punch in another touchdown to go up 28-14 right as we were coming on the pod. Mm-hmm. So assuming with 2 minutes to go, Kings Mountain held on to win against Ben L. Smith. So we'll see what happens with the Mounties. After that 70-0 beatdown, I called that the massacre on the mountain last week, getting just absolutely thumped by Crest.
That has to be the worst loss in the county history of playing each other.
Well, at least in the modern era, Jacari, I think Shelby beat Kings Mountain like 80-0 back in the 20s, 1920s, like 100 and something years ago. But I mean, come on, that was back when they were wearing leather helmets. So I mean, in the modern era, 70-0. Coach Lloyd said, "Y'all might have run me off of here, but I'm gonna come back and show you who owns this place." And he
You know he
owned.
slept so good that night. I think
Ooh, my.
that might have been the best day he had in so long.
Yeah, but anyway, so we'll see if Kings Mountain's got enough in them to try and make a little run or not. So Crest and Burns both had buys this week. We'll see how they do next week. I mean, you go by that RPI stuff, and South Point ended up with the number 1 seed in 5A, and Crest beat them like 46-0.
Like it's team. I feel like your seeding doesn't represent how good your team is. Like I'm not being biased, but I don't think Shelby's a 10 seed in that division. I think Shelby's at least a top 5 seed.
Well, I mean,
3
here
at worst, in my opinion.
But here it is again. East Rutherford's 9-1 and got the 7 seed and a bye, and they got Shelby coming to them in the second round. I mean,
what are we having this great season for if we just gonna have to play a team that's worthy enough to be a championship team this
absolutely.
early? Like I think again, like the politics and stuff that goes beyond me is just ridiculous, and I don't think it's ever gonna be controlled in my personal opinion.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. So next week, Shelby at East Rutherford. Hadn't been up there to play in a playoff game, I don't think, since like 2005. I think it was 2005. Arsenio Parks in overtime on 4th down from the goal line, punched it in, and Shelby pulled that one out in OT.
That's a good memory, D.A. Okay.
Yeah, went on to win that state championship against Reedsville. Tavares Jolly had a big game in the state championship in Chapel Hill. Oh, speaking of Chapel Hill, how about my boys
Oh my
beat
goodness.
Kansas tonight? Yes, sir.
That freshman, my goodness.
Yeah, 24-7 tonight for Caleb Wilson. Big night for Caleb Wilson. Big night for the Tar Heels. Yeah, because this time last year they were like, "Whoo, we playing Kansas is getting drugged." So let's go. All right, that's got. Listen, I'll change the subject. I'll quit. They'll be next week at East Rutherford. Pay the money. Drive 20 minutes.
Be there.
Ellenboro is the shortest away game trip for a playoff game you're ever gonna have. Go to Ellenboro next Friday night. Support the Golden Lions. For Juice, Jacari Shell, I'm D.A. David Allen for 2 Daves and a Mike Shelby Golden Lion podcast. Peace.